Instead of celebrating Victory Monday for the sixth time this season, we are once again victims to a Miami Dolphins loss. We will recap what happened with PFF Grades, Next Gen Stats, and so much more. Plus, are the Dolphins looking to make a big trade by the deadlines? Are they legitimate buyers and not interested in sellers or standing pat? We will talk about all of that, plus what I think and what I'm hearing could be what they're targeting in terms of a trade before the deadline. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this episode powered by BetUS.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score!
Field down the near side, that open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown again! Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. Like I said, meeting under these bad and somber circumstances due to another loss, as it is not Victory Monday. It is, we are the victims of another Dolphins loss Monday. So appreciate all of you for coming through. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new, as you do. And hey, listen, look at it this way. The Dolphins, it ain't over yet. I said they got to go 8-3, so we're still one loss away. Until that next loss happens, it ain't over. But it ain't looking good. It ain't looking good. And the Dolphins' chances of making the playoffs, it's just not good. It's just not good. We have a very low percentage chance of making the playoffs. And hey, slow start, the terrible contingency plans, some key mistakes by veterans, some durability issues have led to us being in this situation. It is what it is. Don't ever let it be what it ain't. And this is what we signed up for. And now, backs up against the wall, man. And I'll say this, though, if they play the way they did yesterday and the defense cleans it up a little bit, can they go 8-1 in the final 9? Sure. Is it going to happen? Probably not. And I'm not going to hold my breath or pray that it, or pray nightly that it does. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But, this is just a result of, like I said, roster construction. The coach was still finding his way at the beginning of the year. Poor contingency plans, and not just at quarterback. It's not just at quarterback. Listen, I know their contingency plan was chop and mow for Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, but that was down the line. That was supposed to be in a year or two that they would take over, not be forced into action right away because no one can stay healthy off the edge. So, man, tough loss yesterday. I just still, what's really bugging me and what I just still can't get over is how they basically wasted the best game from Tua against the Bills and arguably Mike McDaniel's best ever coaching job offensively. I think that was one of, if not the best Mike McDaniel coached games of his tenure. Stuck with the run, sat Mostert down, and gave carries to Wright after Mostert's fumble. Go look back at the tape. Tua was lights out. Best game against the Buffalo since 2022, and I think that was his best game so far in his career against them. Took what the defense gave him, spread the ball around, make good decisions with the football, didn't turn it over. I just hate that we wasted performances from him, but we got to say this too. Listen, what a game from Devon Achane, huh? 121 yards from scrimmage, 2 touchdowns. Kid's a stud. Offensive MVP in my opinion so far this season. He's been available, and when he has played, he's just awesome. I'd give my game ball to either Achane or Tua on the offensive side yesterday. Mostert and his fumbles. He's run hard since his return, but these fumbles are backbreaking. Backbreaking against the Colts, backbreaking against the Bills. And if he doesn't fumble in those games, Miami might have won 2 of their last 3. And all of a sudden, we'd be looking at a different season right now. We'd be 4-4. Tyreek had a good game. Waddle has one of the craziest stat lines ever. He had 2 catches, -4 yards, and a touchdown, all because of that final play of the game. What a play by him and 2 on that game-tying touchdown, though, huh? Oh, my. OBJ finally gets involved. Nice to see that. I'd extend Jonnu right now. Best tight end this team has had in years. Remember on Friday, I said on my keys to victory, this offensive line needs to play its best game of the season. I think they delivered that. I thought Aaron Brewer, phenomenal again. Phenomenal. Taron Armstead, absolute monster. You might even think about wanting to extend that man right now. You got another year, Taron? If he's going to play at this level and stay healthy, jeez. I think Eskridge and Washington are a good return combo. I think they've really taken advantage of the Barrios injuries. I think Weaver's defense, they've allowed 485 yards, 43 points combined in the second half the last 2 weeks against the Cardinals and against the Bills. It's just unacceptable. I thought that was, Chop got pressure early on. Chop finally got his sack. Yeah, he took a bad penalty after the sack, but, they were still at 3rd and 9. If Poyer didn't take the penalty, then we get off the field, they punt. I thought Chop was very good yesterday, arguably his best game. Calais Campbell, absolute stud. My only thing with Campbell, I would say, that I've noticed consistently this season is he leaves negative plays in the backfield. He whiffs on tackles in the backfield. I think we got to quietly give... Well, not quietly. I think first, how good he's been. I think we got to give Deshaun Hannah's props. I thought Anthony Walker and Jordan Brooks looked better than David Long and Jordan Brooks, I thought, yesterday. Cam Smith, I know we're still having some struggles there, but this is right now, he has a few mistakes and they cost us, but then besides a few mistakes, he's pretty good. That's how he's been the past couple weeks. The problem is we're going through these mistakes and these errors because he didn't get any play in year 1. That's your issue. We're going through year 1 growing pains in year 2 because Fangio didn't give him any reps. That's what you're seeing right now. Corner is one of the hardest positions to master, let alone play. Sorry, I should say play, let alone master in the NFL. On the defensive side, it's the hardest position. That's why they get paid so much, and that's why they're so highly touted. So, Ramsey, another phenomenal performance. What a play on that interception. Listen, besides last week against Marvin Harrison Jr., he's been really good since those first 2 weeks of the season. I think we should all chip in. I think we should all start a donation pot to send Marcus May to tackling school. This is 2 weeks in a row he's missed tackles that have cost us big time. Last week against Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Last drive, the one where they kicked the game-winning field goal, 3rd and 4. Marcus May has a clean shot at Kyler. You know he's running it. Clean shot. Whiffs on the tackle. Kyler converts the 3rd. They drain out the clock and kick the field goal instead of them being forced to kick the field goal there and us getting the ball back with about 40 or 50 seconds left on the clock. This weekend, Josh Allen. I mean, dude, you're up against Josh Allen and the Bills. You got Ray Davis after Josh Allen makes a pass to him on a screen. You got him dead to rights. You whiff on the tackle, and it costs you a 63-yard touchdown. My God, Marcus. You have been absolutely dreadful the last couple weeks. Holy jeez. These guys, all I can hear is Javon. We'll get into that in a sec. Jordan Poyer. This man, I've said it before. How many times have I said this? This man didn't lose a step to his game. He lost a freaking mile to his game. As if taking Phillips out for the year wasn't enough for this guy. Or letting a game-sealing pick six against the Colts slip through his fingers wasn't enough. He takes a brutal penalty on the final Bill drive on 3rd and 9. So instead of getting off the field, the drive continues and Miami loses. Listen, I don't want to hear about whether it was a ticky-tacky call. Brother, lead with your shoulder. Keon Coleman, the ball was already loose before. You didn't jar the ball loose on Keon Coleman. The drop was already happening. Lead with your shoulder, brother. If you're going to go high, lead with the shoulder, dude. And then we got to watch you with a game-costing penalty. We got to watch you joke around with the guys on the sideline after the game. Are you kidding me right now? Buddy, this is where, I'm telling you, listen. I would have cut him this morning, huh? I'm not even lying. What are we missing? What are we missing if we cut him? What are you really missing right now? I'd rather play Nick Needham at safety than this guy. I'll give the reps to Elijah Campbell. I will give the reps to Elijah Campbell and Nick Needham. What are you, buddy? I'm telling you. That's the instance where you miss a guy like Flores. Brother, you think you would have been able to have... And then let's not even talk about earlier in the game, Jordan Poyer went into business for himself. Now, thank God the touchdown run from Josh Allen got called back. But do y'all remember the 20-yard touchdown run from Josh Allen that got called back? Poyer ran right by him instead of running through the freaking guy right in front of the goal line. Put your hands up if you remember that one. He ran right by him. He made a business decision, bro. What are you going to get, a $10,000 or $25,000 fine? Brother, you take that hit. You take that fine for the W. You're out here making business decisions, and then you're out here making plays that cost us at the end of the game. And people want to try to tell me the defense we didn't lose that game because of the defense. One safety alone, taking business decisions on plays. Brother, flag or not, if you lay out Josh Allen right there, you think he's running again? First of all, it would have been offsetting, right? They would have had to ran the play again because of the hold. You think Josh Allen's running again if you let him know what's good? This is what I keep saying. And this is what I've been saying for the years we've played. Even before Tua got here. Bro, hit these guys. Let them know what time it is. You see Chop yesterday? Y'all see Chop? Chop went right for that knee on Josh Allen. Now, I'm not saying hurt the guys. But let them know you're there. Let them feel it so they know you're there. That's how we used to rattle Brady. We'd get penetration, we'd hit him, and he'd know we're there. You got to let these guys know, I'm not going to allow you to run around. And if you do, you're going to pay a toll. And the toll is going to come with your body and your health. So make the decision, kid. You got to put this is what we're talking about when you're setting the tone and really setting a mindset in that physical game. Man, if we were a physical team and known as a physical defense, you think you'd have people trying to run around and dance? Nah, man. And Ken Holland in the chat is 110% right. That was the play to hit someone and make your presence felt. And Jordan Poyer, Olay, does the Olay sidestep. What are we saying here? My God. Unbelievable. And you know what? Listen, Samasoni's talking about drafting a middle linebacker. Listen, I'll tell you this much. If we had Zach Thomas back there, if you had Ray Lewis back there, if you had Urlacher back there, you know, if you had any of the great middle linebackers in the last 20 years back there, you think they would allow that to happen? You think they flip on that? You think they would allow Poyer to go sit there and laugh with their buddies at the end of the game? Yeah, Ken Rose, Ed Reed would have run. Hey, man, Ed Reed, one of my favorite safeties ever. Brian Dawkins would have. Hell, Jeremiah Bell would have let him know what time it was, huh? Jeremiah Bell would have said. Javon would have let him know what time it was too. Minka would have let him know what time it was. Rashad Jones would have certainly let Josh Allen know exactly what time it was. That's why I miss Rashad, baby. That was my guy. I loved me some Rashad Jones, man. That was my guy. They would have let him know exactly what time it was. Exactly what time it was. Man. See, that's the thing. Greer's knocked it out of the park with the Brewer signing. Right? Knocked it out of the park. The Teron Armstead signing when he's healthy. Knocked it out of the park. Kendall Fuller knocked it out of the park. He's been better than X. Where he hasn't knocked it out of the park, Jordan Brooks knocked it out of the park with Jordan Brooks. Knocked it out of the park with Calais Campbell. Where he hasn't knocked it out of the park is at safety. And well, the backup quarterback, the contingency plan, a backup quarterback. You know, and depth in a lot of areas. But when we're talking about starters, the safeties, he whiffed, man. He whiffed on Poyer and he whiffed on May. He may have had a lot of good hits this offseason with free agents, but the whiffs are real whiffs that we're paying for. They're costing us games. Poyer costs us games. You know? Marcus May's costing us games and chances here. I'm just saying. Just being objective. So, let's get into this. We got a lot to go over. It's a trade deadline special. I got sell options. I got trade targets for Miami. We're going to talk. I'm going to play some videos here because it sounds like the Miami Dolphins are trying to make a trade. I'm going to talk about what I'm hearing in that sense. But before we do, this episode is sponsored by BetUS. Head on over to BetUS right now. Tampa Bay are 9-point underdogs against the Kansas City Chiefs for Monday Night Football tonight. Go use promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. Get your first get your first three deposits up to $2,000, matched by 150%. Just please remember to gamble responsibly, but they've got some of the quickest payouts in the industry and 24/7 customer service. So shout out to BetUS for supporting the channel. All right. Continuing on, let's get into this because we got a lot to go over, that's for sure. Before we do get into everything, you know what I got to do? You know what time it is. We got to do Jabroni of the Week. Jabroni of the Week, Miami Dolphins defense. I mean, I'm sorry. That second half. I mean, You gave up 254 yards and 19 points last week in the second half. I let you off the hook. This week, you go out there and you let up 231 yards and 24 points in the second half. I'm sorry. Miami Dolphins defense, you are the jabroni of the week. I don't know what else to tell you. And was Ramsey a jabroni this week? No, but he can look around to the guys in the safety room, and that's one place he can look as to why they're the jabroni of the week. All right? You know, you want to look at the coach? Go look at the coach. Because quite frankly, you guys just didn't get it done in the second half. You weren't good enough. All right? The fact that they didn't have a stop. I want you to think about this for a sec. Put this in your mind. They didn't have a stop since there was 11 minutes left in the second quarter. Put that in football perspective. That means they went about 41 minutes out of a 60-minute game without getting a stop. Think about that. Put that into perspective for a moment. 41 minutes out of a 60-minute game, you went without getting me a stop. And I don't want to hear that you were gassed because we won time of possession. Man, I never thought we'd miss Kader Kohu that much. I never thought we'd miss Javon Holland that much. Oh, my God. And Zach Sieler, oh, man, Lord knows how much we miss him, too. Lord knows. So let's get into the trade deadline stuff, all right? What happened to McMorris? McMorris is injured. We're waiting for him to come back. All right. So, the Miami Dolphins. First of all, let's talk about this. They do not seem to be interested in dealing Calais Campbell, according to Drew Rosenhaus. Here's what he said to Josh Mosier regarding the situation.
Calais Campbell's a name, Drew, 37 years old. Has been floating about here in trade rumors. What type of value would he command?
I don't believe that the Dolphins will trade Calais Campbell. He's just playing too well, and quite frankly, once the Dolphins get Zach Sieler back, they're going to be counting on that combination of Zach Sieler and Calais Campbell to hold down the fort. Nothing against the other defensive tackles, but Sieler and Campbell are the guys, and the Dolphins need them.
So there you go, right there. I know, hey, he made my list of sell options, but right there you get confirmation from Drew Rosenhaus that the word is Calais Campbell will not be traded. And you know what? I would re-sign him for another year. Until he falls off the cliff, let him finish in Miami. He's phenomenal. Cut Poyer, start Ramsey at safety, and place Smith at boundary. Ooh, I like how you're thinking, bro. But why not just cut Poyer, let Ramsey move as a chess piece around as each play dictates, and use Needham and Elijah Campbell? Won't be, trust me, even if they give us competent play, that's an upgrade from Poyer at this level. All right? So, yeah. You know, I like your thinking, though. Get Ramsey some more reps at safety. I like that thinking. But Calais Campbell will not be traded by the Miami Dolphins, it seems, unless he obviously walks into the office and says, hey, I don't think this is going anywhere. Can you move me? But he didn't do it last year with Atlanta. He's a professional. Honestly, I'd be talking about bringing him back. I'd be bringing him back. So, you know, it is what it is. I'd be trying to sign Calais back. Hey, listen, until he decides to retire or the wheels fall off, keep bringing him back on these snap counts, man. The guy's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Oh, man. Now, Dolphins, they are looking to make a move at the deadline, and apparently they've been aggressively trying to make a move for about 3 weeks. Here is what Drew Rosenhaus said. Gave away a little info, I love it, to Josh Mosier.
Tuesday is the trade deadline. Last week, Drew, we talked about this team needing a pass rusher. What do you expect Chris Grier to do in the next 48 hours?
I will tell you that Chris Greer and the Dolphins have been very active in making phone calls, at least over the last 3 weeks. Without getting into specifics, I know for a fact that the Dolphins have been aggressive to try to get better, and so far they haven't been able to make a trade, but not for a lack of trying. With that being said, I do not expect the Dolphins by any means to give up on this season. I don't expect them to trade away any of their top players, and I wouldn't be surprised if they acquired a player or two. They are really determined to play good football and, do everything they can to turn this season around, and they have not given up by any stretch of the imagination.
And this was after the Bills game. The Miami Dolphins have not given up by any stretch of the imagination, according to Drew Rosenhaus. He thinks they're going to acquire a player or two. What I'm hearing is they are scouring the edge market. It seems like they're looking for a defensive lineman, either an edge rusher or a defensive tackle. That's what it looks like. They're trying to make a move. Now, we've had this conversation before. Would you trust Chris Greer to move assets right now? Do you want Chris Greer moving assets right now? I mean, that seems to be a moot point because apparently they are all on board on trying to make a acquisition on defense right now due to the injuries. Offensive line is coming together still, so that's not as big of a priority as the defensive line right now. They could add another interior presence, or they could add another edge rusher. That's what it feels like. A sneaky add they could do is maybe a linebacker, because they could use another linebacker in that core, or a safety. Now, I originally had Budda Baker on my trade deadline target list, but from what I'm understanding, Budda Baker is not going to be moved, considering the Cardinals have won their last 2 games, and I think they're like 5-4 now. So I do not think Budda Baker will be moved. All right. So, other than Ward and Sanders, Eric asks, other than Ward and Sanders, what QB in the upcoming draft piques your interest? It's pretty well known on this channel that I'm a Garrett Nussmeier as well as a Jackson Dart truther. I think Ward and Sanders will be the first 2 QBs off the board. I don't think the Dolphins will be bad enough to get them. I still think we're going to win games here to close it out. But Garrett Nussmeier, I don't know if Nussmeier will declare, though. I like Jackson Dart. You see what Jackson Dart did this past weekend to Arkansas? Oh, man, he lit him up for five touchdowns. Jackson Dart went off. Jackson Dart's a legit dual threat. If you could get him in the 2nd or 3rd round and you could continue to develop him as a passer behind Tua for a year or 2, that becomes very, very interesting. There's I think Drew Aller and Nussmeier are 2 guys that have high ceilings, but they might go back. I like Jalen Milroe's ceiling, but I think he should go back and continue to perfect his craft as a passer. Then you get into like the Miller Mosses and stuff like that. So, but I do think they're going to take a QB in this draft on either day 1 or day 2. In the first 3 rounds, they're going to take a QB. So, because this team doesn't want to spend a lot of money on a premier backup. So the cheap option is a draft pick. Especially if you get 2 third-round compensatory picks, I could see them making the move. So, anyways. So yeah, the Dolphins, that's another thing. Right now, what are they going to trade? They can't trade a 3rd round pick because you can't trade compensatory picks. So, I don't want them to trade a 1st or a 2nd right now. But I mean, if you're going to make a move, it depends on the name. You might have to pony up a 2nd. Or you'd have to dip into the following year's draft into like a 3rd there. So let's get into the trade deadline a little further here. I've got some targets and some sell options that I really like for the Miami Dolphins. for tomorrow's trade deadline. So let's get into it. So trade targets, a guy he was on my list last year. He's on it again. Daniel Brunskill. He can play guard. He can play center. You saw that when we were against the Titans, they were using him as like a sixth offensive lineman out there. Another guy who I wanted last year, I want again this year, Cody Whitehair. Raiders are selling a guy who could play guard or center. I mean, if you can go get the Browns to sell you a guy like Joel Bitonio, talking about like a Pro Bowl, all pro caliber guard there. I mean, all day, baby. I mean, all day. Same can be said for Brandon Sheriff out of Jacksonville. You might remember him. He used to be a Commander. Another guy, he can play tackle or he can play guard. And he is apparently on the market right now. Two other guys I like, Kenyon Green from the Texans and Nate Davis now from the Bears. Now, would the Bears be willing to sell off offensive line pieces with Caleb Williams coming up? Probably not. Probably not. When you look at tackles, and this is why I have these names here, Evan Neal. He wasn't drafted too long ago. Remember him out of Alabama, and the Giants are apparently looking to deal him already. Now, what would my thought process be on this? Well, I mean, he was only drafted 2 years ago. Remember, he went 7th overall. My thought process would be, have him and Patrick Paul fight it out for left tackle, and the loser. And then if Patrick Paul wins that, you got a guy in Neal who could play both the left side and the right side. And Jackson, surprisingly, has been one of the weaker links the last couple weeks. Hey, if you're looking to upgrade tackle, Evan Neal is a good shot. And so is Jack Conklin. If you're looking for depth, Jack Conklin can play right tackle, right? So he can be depth behind Austin Jackson, a guy who's been historically banged up. Now, this is where we get into the real interesting names, the defense. Defensive tackle, Sebastian Joseph Day from the Titans. He's available right now. And to me, that would be a very, very interesting acquisition for the Miami Dolphins. I think that would make, you got a guy in Sebastian Joseph Day who he can play all over that front. And I think, you look at what he offers too, 6'4", 310 pounds. And like I said, he can line up all over that front. You know what I mean? Now, he's best utilized, probably, as a 1 to a 3. But, he's not the zero tech answer we would be looking for, I don't think. But, I think he would add another layer to that interior. Now, he has played a little nose with the Titans the last couple. We're talking like minimal snaps here. He's best used as a 1 to a 3. So I think he would add another great layer to this Miami Dolphins defensive front. DeForest Buckner, he's been an absolute stud his career. You know what I mean? And again, more interior help, shoring up, adding another guy who he can play all over that front. And what he offers you is he can help you clean up the run defense, but he can also rush the passer from the interior too. So, remember San Francisco sent him to Indianapolis. So he's been in Indy for like the last 5-6 years. So I think that would be an interesting name. Dalvin Tomlinson, obviously not as sexy as Sebastian Joseph Day or DeForest Buckner, but again, a guy who offers you support on the front. Then sticking with the edge here, sticking with the defensive line, Azeez Ojulari. Now people remember from the 2021 draft class, him and Jalen Phillips were my top guys in that class. And they've since added like Kevon Thibodeau. They traded for Brent Burns, and it's not an indictment on Azeez Ojulari because he's been very productive when you look at him, right? I mean, he's already got 6 sacks this year. He had 8 as a rookie. Now, he had 2.5 last year and 5.5 the year before, but he gets after it, man. So, adding Azeez Ojulari, again, another top pick, second round pick, 50th overall. And I think he would have went even higher if he didn't have the bad medicals in Indianapolis at the combine. That would be, hey, I'm an Azeez Ojulari fan. We already know this. So I'm just going to give you my biased feelings on that. Now, the next name could cost, I don't know how realistic this is, because it could cost you a day 1 or day 2 pick. I think both would, Azeez Ojulari and Zadarius Smith. Now, Zadarius Smith is known to be on the block right now. The Browns are looking to offload him. That's the one they're looking to trade, not necessarily Myles Garrett. Another interesting one would be Jadeveon Clowney. The Dolphins have tried to chase him for multiple off seasons, but he's familiar with Anthony Weaver in this defense. And again, another guy who can move all along the front. Chase Young, how the mighty have fallen. He could be on the block right now. I think he is on the block right now with the Saints. They're looking to offload. They're projected to be $61 million over the cap next year. But Chase Young, former first-round pick, he's made available for trade. Another quiet name who's productive, Arden Key from the Titans. And then you got another good one in Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals. Now, an interesting name I put on this list, I think he's available right now. And people would kind of be shocked, but it would be really good, I think, for our defense. Robert Spillane, the linebacker from the Raiders. The Raiders are selling right now, and we could use some linebacker help. David Long's not playing well. You don't have much depth behind him because the coaching staff clearly doesn't trust Channing Tindall. You know what I mean? So what happens if Anthony Walker or Jordan Brooks get hurt? You're all of a sudden up the creek. Now, 2 other interesting names. Guys, we're so, Poyer ain't good. Marcus May ain't good. Javon Holland's hurt. Why not go try? Now, Kyle Duggar might be expensive, especially trying to trade in division. But if you want to go on the cheap, why not try to go get a cheap vet like Tyrann Mathieu from the Saints? I mean, we could use one of those safeties right now. If you want me to be honest, we could use a defensive tackle, an edge, and a safety right now. The offensive line is more so acquire guys because Liam Eichenberg is going to be a free agent. What are you going to do with Robert Jones? So you could acquire one of those guys now, use him as a 6th man, and then re-up him, right? So that's getting the guy in the building. Same thing with tackle. You don't know what Patrick Paul is going to be. What are you going to do with Dawson Jackson moving forward? Because he's been kind of a weak link. But, man, Kyle Duggar or Tyrann Mathieu, we could use a safety right now. Now, I originally would have had Budda Baker there, but the word on the street is, like I said earlier, Arizona's taken Budda Baker off the market. But, there's some names here. I mean, if you went out and you added Jadeveon Clowney, and you added Tyrann Mathieu, those would be cheap, low-cost veteran options that I think you could get production from. Kyle Duggar will probably be expensive. Zadarius Smith and Ojulari will probably be expensive. I don't think Sebastian, listen, I'd be trying to get, and if you could give me Clowney, Tyrann Mathieu, and Sebastian Joseph Day, oh man, that would be all phenomenal. And this is even moving forward into next year. Try to get these guys in the building, re-up them as vets, and run it back with some depth. But if we could get a DT, if you could get Joseph Day or Buckner, oh my God, please. Now, what if Chris Greer wakes up tomorrow and he wants to sell? What if he says, let's sell off? Well, I think you should start in the running back room. Jeff Wilson Jr., what are we using him for? You cut Chris Brooks just for Chris Brooks to be productive with the Packers and for us to watch Jeff Wilson Jr. pop up on the inactive report every week. What's the point? Raheem Mostert, the 2 fumbles have cost us. Wright is just itching for more touches. Devon Achane is clearing away your best all-purpose back right now. Odell Beckham Jr., what if he decides, hey, I want to go to a winner, and right now we're losing? And I don't like how I'm being used here. I at least want to be a number 2. OBJ would make sense. Teron Armstead, what if he really is going to retire next year and this is his last run at trying to win a championship? Do you do right by him and say, hey, man, this team needs tackle help. Go help him out. Kendall Lamb, what if a team like the Chiefs or someone needs a cheap, low-cost depth option for a run in Kendall Lamb? Patrick Paul's really our backup left tackle, but Kendall Lamb is really also our backup right tackle and utility tackle. Calais Campbell, we've since learned that the Dolphins are not going to move him, but what if they wake up tomorrow and say, hey, let's do right by him, let's give him a shot at a championship because he doesn't have much time? Emmanuel Ogbah, you only brought him back for 1 year. What if you can get a 5th, 6th, or 7th for him? David Long Jr., I don't see you re-signing him. What if you can get a 5th, 6th, or 7th for him right now? Marcus May, if any team's willing to take him for a 5th, 6th, or 7th, man, call us now. And Javon Holland is on this list for one reason only. I don't think they should trade Javon Holland. I think they should try and extend Javon Holland. The problem you're going to run into are a few things. Number one, you're going to go to him. Okay, you want $20 million because that's rumored what he wants to be around Antoine Winfield's money, so $20 million. You want $20 million? Okay, well, you've been hurt a lot the last couple of years. Then you know what he's going to turn around and say to you? Yeah, but look at your secondary without me. And then you're going to be like, zing, you got a point. But if you aren't planning on re-signing him for big money, you could probably get a day 2 pick for him. You could probably get a 2nd or 3rd round pick for him. I don't think you get a first because of the injuries and the contract that's going to have to come with it. But you could probably get a day 2 pick for him if you're interested. I'm not here vouching for anything. I'm just saying if you know internally you're not going to re-sign him, what's the point? If you can get a day 2 pick. Now, I am of the camp where I think you should re-sign Javon Holland, so I wouldn't trade him. But he's on this list because, hey, if he wants to get paid $20 million and you're not going to come to that, and you guys are at a standstill, because you know what? Is he going to really take cheaper money? He's an athlete's first athlete and client. And we know how they go. They aren't exactly down for taking less than what the market dictates. And Antoine Winfield shifted the market last year. So, Mike McDaniel was in front of the podium today, and he addressed injuries and the trade deadline as well. This is what he said. Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel said he's optimistic that defensive lineman Zach Sieler will be available for next Monday's game at the Rams after missing 2 games with a fractured orbital bone. He also said that he's optimistic that outside linebacker Bradley Chubb will play at some point this season. He hasn't played this year because of last December's torn ACL and another undisclosed leg injury. McDaniel didn't offer a timetable on when Chubb would be ready to play. Quote, I saw him outside my window running, McDaniel said. There is hope and optimism, but we will see how that plays out. Chubb and Jalen Phillips are badly missed. The Dolphins have just 10 sacks in 8 games. McDaniel addressed other issues on Monday as his team turns its attention to next Monday's game against the Rams. Asked whether the Dolphins would be buyers or sellers before Thursday's trade deadline, McDaniel said he didn't want to label what Miami is doing, but made clear they believe in this core. McDaniel said he and general manager Chris Grier, quote, share a belief in this team if you can find a way to get over the hump, which we fully expect to. Grier, quote, hasn't brought anything that is real to me, McDaniel said. We're absolutely convicted in this team being better than the win-loss record. McDaniel also said Grier would do what's in the franchise's best long-term interests. Those overall comments did not suggest that Miami is considering trading valuable veterans for draft picks. Asked if he was irked by referees allowing receiver Mac Hollins to spot the ball on Buffalo's final game-winning drive, which is against the rules. Quote, if you were able to spot things on your own, it does save time. Time was of the essence in that period of the game. That wasn't the reason we lost the game. We had plenty of controllables that were in our hands. Quote, officials have pluses and minuses every game. We have to focus on defending the field and not getting in the range of a field goal kicker with a strong leg. McDaniel tried to take some positives away from the 30-27 loss to Buffalo. Quote, we played our best version of ourselves to the point in a lot of ways. It's more validation. We are much better than our record, but our record is what it is. Listen, can I say this? Man, it has been way worse over the last couple losses on social media than it really has been over this loss. Dolphin fans either numb to the losing or they are seeing all the silver linings in this game, whereas McDaniel finally outcoached McDermott offensively. Tua had his best game ever against the Buffalo Bills to this point. You know, I don't know. People are really in higher spirits after this loss than they have been over recent losses, which is crazy because we're 2-6. But hey, I'm not gonna hate. It is what it is. You know, I'm not here to hate on it. Do you, boo boo? So, I'd rather everyone be happy than these people, you know, be miserable and hating their lives. So, I mean, it is what it is. All right. All that said, let's get into the PFF grades from this week. And let's start off with Aaron Brewer was your highest graded offensive player. Devon Achane, number 2. Tua Tagovailoa, number 3. Armstead, number 4. And Jonnu Smith, number 5. Lowest graded were Tanner Connor, Dwayne Eskridge, Durham Smythe, OBJ, Malik Washington. I don't know how Malik Washington was so low graded because for what he was asked to do, he was fantastic blocking. Fantastic. So I don't know how he was so low graded, but Aaron Brewer continues to be an absolute stud for this team. Absolute stud. And Achane, absolute stud as well. Absolute stud. Tua, 76.7. That's pretty good. But yeah, Aaron Brewer, absolutely phenomenal. You look at the passing, they got him charted as 1 for 1 on the deep level. Tua. They got him charted 5 for 7 on the intermediate level. Then they got him a perfect 10 for 10 on the short level, and then a perfect 9 for 9 behind the line of scrimmage. When he was kept clean on 83.3% of his dropbacks yesterday, Tua was completed 87.5% of his passes. And actually, the adjusted completion percentage would have been about 91.3. He was 6.4 yards per attempt, 154 yards. Average depth of target was about 4.3 yards. Time to throw is about 2.28 seconds. He had a 107.3 passer rating. When Tua was under pressure yesterday, he was 4 of 4 for 54 yards and a touchdown. His average depth of target was 9.8 yards. His look at this. His passer rating was 158.3 and his time to throw was 2.78. So Tua was money under pressure yesterday. Absolutely lights out under pressure, according to PFF. When you look at the blocking, the Miami Dolphins, they only gave up 4 pressures. Gave up 2 last week, gave up 4 this week. The sack, like I said, was not on the snap. It was on Austin Jackson. He was beat cleanly by Russo. Robert Jones allowed a hit in a hurry, and Liam Eichenberg also allowed a hurry. So only 4 pressures. Good stuff. Defensive grades. Jalen Ramsey was your highest graded player at a 90.2. Kendall Fuller, number 2, at a 70.5. Jordan Poyer at a 68.9. In what world? In what world? Marcus May at a 65.6. The guy who missed the tackle for the 63. This is why I tell you, unless the grades match what the tape tells your eye, don't take these guys seriously. I only do this for you guys. And so you guys know what everyone's graded. This is the asinine, and every week there's always something. But look at, how are Jordan Poyer and Marcus May 2 of the 4 highest graded Dolphins yesterday? Graded higher than Chop Robinson. You know, Chop Robinson, who by their own metrics led the team in pressures. And had a sack, a hit in a hurry. And somehow, Jordan Poyer and Marcus May got better grades than Chop Robinson or even Calais Campbell. In what world? Please. Film, that don't match the film. Let me tell you that as someone who's already watched it once and is going to chop it up again tonight. So he's going to watch it for a 3rd time. And then a 4th time when I put everything together, and then a 5th time with all of you tomorrow. So trust me, after 2 viewings, I can already tell you that don't match. Coverage matchups. Grades don't match the film on that, sir. Anthony Walker was targeted 8 times, allowed 7 receptions for 62 yards, 3 first downs, and James Cook had a drop. Jordan Brooks targeted 7 times, allowed 5 receptions for 97 yards, and both touchdowns were charged against Jordan Brooks. Hey, Ray Davis missed the tackle. That's all I know. Sorry, what's his face? Missed the tackle on Ray Davis. Marcus May. Cam Smith, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 26 yards, 3 first downs. Jordan Poyer targeted 4 times, allowed 2 receptions for 16 yards, a first down, and Dawson Knox had that, remember that drop along the sideline where he's open? Ramsey, he was targeted 3 times, allowed 2 receptions for 19 yards, a first down, had an interception, and Keon Coleman had they charged the Keon Coleman for a drop on that play. Marcus May targeted twice, allowed 1 reception for -3 yards to Khalil Shakir. Kendall Fuller targeted twice, allowed 1 reception for 1 yard. Sear Neal targeted twice, allowed 2 receptions for 6 yards and a first down. Muhammad Kamara was targeted once and allowed 1 reception for 11 yards. So there are your PFF grades for week 9. Poyer in a 5th for a Honey Badger. Sign me up. Listen, I'd give a 7th. Let's relax on the 5th. I'd give him a 6th or 7th for Honey Badger. They're looking to shed salary. Now, then again, because you added Poyer, we might have to give them the 5th. We might have to pay them to take Poyer, Knight. I like what you're thinking, though. If you could give me Poyer in a 7th for Honey Badger, and I could offload Poyer and only give up a 7th, brother, oh, pinch me, I'm dreaming. You know? Oh, my God, classic. So, let's get into the passing charts from yesterday. Look at Josh Allen. I mean, he didn't really do much yesterday. He wasn't really pushing the ball beyond 20 yards that much at all. At all. So keeping it short. Completion percentage over expected was -7.5. 25 of 39, 235. I mean, you look at it, he only had, 1 attempt beyond 20 yards. And he only had 5 attempts beyond 10 yards. So he was keeping it simple, and he was kind of dinking and dunking against us a little bit too, right? You look at Tua, and Tua was at least pushing it a little bit. Now, he, when you do the math, only had, he too only had 1 attempt beyond 20 yards, and his completion to Tyreek Hill. But he still had, I believe, another 7 passes beyond 10 yards. But again, taking what the defense, both quarterbacks were trying to play mistake-free and take what the defense gave them. And can you really fault them for that? You know? At the end of the day, can you really fault them for that? Now, I do think Tua was better. I do think Tua was better overall. If you had to ask me, hey, Reason, who had the better game yesterday, I would definitely say Tua. And I'm not even being biased. Listen, when you dive deeper into the numbers and when you look at it for real here, look at the game we wasted with Tua. Look at Tua. His EPA per play, 0.71 to 0.23 for Josh Allen. Total EPA, 21.2 to 10.8. You look at the completion percentage over expected, plus 21.1 for Tua. Tua was far more efficient. Look at the QBR. Tua was far better than Josh Allen yesterday. Beat him in every metric. Other than, I think, because of the 24 yards that Waddle lost at the end there, I think he didn't finish with as many yards. But Tough, man. Tough stuff. Really, honestly. Should have finished that game off. Is what it is, though. Is what it is. And then when you look at the next gen stats, Tua Tagovailoa, longest completed air distance, 43.5 yards. Josh Allen, 29.1. Fastest ball carrier was Raheem Mostert at 19.45 yards. Ray Davis got up to 18.49 on his touchdown run. Chop Robinson had the fastest sack for the Dolphins. It still took him 6.1 seconds. Greg Russo got to 2 in 3.2. You look at Tua, just slight discrepancies here in the passing chart compared to PFF when you look at it. So, and that being on the intermediate and the short level, and then the placement behind the line of scrimmage is different. Rushing, Devon Achane was killing them outside to the right. Raheem Mostert finding his success running to the left gaps and outs off of Armstead's hip. Jalen Wright finding his success to the left. Cook finding his success running inside to the right and a little inside to the left. Ray Davis, I mean, he didn't find much success other than that catch and score for 63. Tyreek Hill, look at the league average separation is about 2.97 yards. Tyreek Hill is 2.68. Jonnu Smith, 3.49. Odell Beckham, 3.94. Durham Smythe, 0.8. And Waddle, 3.82. On the other side, you look at Dawson Knox, 4.92. Khalil Shakir, 6.79. Dalton Kincaid, 3.18. Matt Collins, 3.61. And Keon Coleman at 3.16. And then the average separation from QB, the league average is about 4.57 yards. Remember, Chop Robinson was number one last week for us, blew that league average out of the water. This week, though, he didn't even make the top four. Deshaun Hand was the closest at 4.47. Benito Jones at 4.95. Calais Campbell at 5 yards and Ogba at 5.33. On the flip side, Ed Oliver about 4.08. Von Miller 4.23. Greg Russo 4.35. And Jones at 4.67. So they were getting cleaner penetration than we were, but they just weren't. We were just so quick trigger with it. They weren't allowed to turn it into sacks when you look at it. So those are the next gen stats as well. Knight says, I asked which power was stronger, Super Allen versus Miami or Tua's Harlan effect. Somehow we got both. Yeah. Hey, man, listen. Tua has shown he can play against him. That's now 2 games in 2 years, and both in the road. He's played better in Buffalo since McDaniel got here. Remember, he's only played 3 times in Buffalo since McDaniel got here. 2 of those games he's been really good. December 2022 and now November 2024. He's been actually really good in Buffalo during McDaniel's tenure, if you look at the averages right now. I'm just saying. Let that one sink in, because people told us he couldn't do that. If we got to go on the road to Buffalo in the playoffs, I'm actually confident with what I've seen from Tua. Just saying. Just putting it out there. Reason what took McDaniel so long to play better run ball. It was so frustrating to watch since he's been here. I get it, man, especially when you invested a 3rd round pick in Achane and then you traded a 3rd round pick to move up and get Jalen Wright. You made legitimate investments in that, right? You keep bringing your buddies back, Wilson and Mostert, right? You keep playing country club at the position with your buddies. But I said, hey, listen, 6193. I said, I'm on record. Go look at the episodes before Moser came back. I said, watch, Moser's going to come back and his buddy comes back and all of a sudden we'll start running. Sure as hell, what happened? Moser came back, we started running. So what I like is he's willing to put McDermott on their heels now. Yeah, we don't need explosives. Don't think the Buffalo Bills aren't afraid right now. If Joe Brady, if their offensive coordinator didn't call a perfect game, they would be, and they didn't get some breaks go their way, they would have lost yesterday. Now we've instilled the threat of we could beat you with the explosives, but we can also run the ball and take what you give us. And look at, we were a fumble away from putting up 30 or 34 on you. So, silver linings, right? So hopefully that game, though, 6-1-9-3, showed Mike McDaniel further. Tua is at his best when the pass is predicated off the run, and so is this offensive line. This offensive line is built to run block better than it is in hold and pass pro. So, guys, I'm going to be back tomorrow. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video. It's election night tomorrow. We'll break down some film. It'll be the trade deadline, so we'll talk about everything that goes on. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new on the way out. And I appreciate all you coming through. Over 450 of you. Love all y'all. And I'll see you on the next one. Fins up. We got the Rams. Monday Night Football. Let's be better in prime time.